So if you're selling a home or thinking about it, you've probably heard the same advice over and over again from friends or realtors. Never overprice your house. Here's the thing, that is too simple. Oftentimes it's self-interested when it comes to the real estate agent, and it's not good advice in almost every case. So I'm going to tell you a real story first, and it'll explain it further. My name is Michael Hausam. I'm an active real estate broker here in Southern California, and I've been licensed for almost 25 years. I got into the business a decade before that on the mortgage side, and I'm also the founder of HAUS ADVANTAGE Academy, where I help realtors become better realtors. So if you search the phrase overpriced listing on the internet, this is the kind of thing that you're going to see.
I've set a lot of appointments that I have ended up canceling because the homeowners were just not realistic on the price. You know, I'm on completely different planets when it comes to the price, and I am not going to overprice the property.
If my seller wanted to overprice their house by $50K, I'd either talk him out of it or I'd fire him. There's no way to list it. The worst type of seller is this: oh, if we can get X, then we'll sell. No, like that's not how it works.
If an agent knowingly takes a listing that is overpriced, it is super slimy because they're giving the seller, the consumer, false hope.
Now, why do you think most agents have a I don't take overpriced listings policy? You think it's because they're laser focused on the outcome and the needs and the wants of their clients? Or is it because they want a quick commission, or they want a marketing flyer that says, hey, I sold a house in 4 days, or I sold a house 5% or whatever over asking price? So here's the reality most sellers are not told. Pricing a home isn't just about the number. And it's certainly not about the marketing needs or the income needs of their agent. It's about timing, it's about expectations and leverage. Now, sellers are always making some sort of trade-off between time and money. There's a tension between the two of them, and you need to decide which is your main priority. If you want speed, you're usually going to give up price. The more speed you need, the more you're going to give up on price. So when you're flipping through Instagram and you see Tarek El Moussa on Instagram promising to give you cash within days for your home, you can bet it's not your cash and your net proceeds that he's focused on. He's focused on his profit after he flips your house. Now, if you need cash literally right now, then that may be the best thing for you to do, obviously. But if you can trade a little bit of time for that money, then you can afford to test the price in the marketplace and see how it responds. Here's the thought experiment that I do with my clients. If you had two different offers, one of them had an extra $20,000 or $30,000 in it, but you had to wait 6 weeks to get the money, which offer would you take? Now, there's no wrong answer here, but you need to think through which is the answer that you would give. And a good agent is going to help you think through this before ever discussing when your house is going to go on the marketplace. Now, an agent that says that you can do both is either lying, they're wishing, or they own a crystal ball. And frankly, if you can find an agent that has a crystal ball, hire him. I haven't found that guy yet. So another issue that sellers rarely talk about is that nobody knows the actual price that a home is going to sell for. Even if you look up comparable sales, even if you look up identical homes in identical timelines, it's human behavior, it's motivations, it's the people involved, it's timing. Everything can change those outcomes. So nobody knows exactly the price the house is going to sell for. I've seen sellers list at prices that, in my opinion, were totally optimistic, and they got paid what they wanted, and sometimes more. And I've seen sellers list at completely reasonable prices and not get that, and everywhere in between. So the difference isn't the number, it's the plan. Now, here's a real world example, and it's a lesson that I'm never going to forget. So a seller wanted a particular price that I thought was batshit crazy, right? It was ridiculous. But it was their house, not mine. So I had the conversation about timing, and then we went with it. I understood their timing, and they told me the price that they wanted. And so we started. Now, their circumstances were such that money was far more important. Their timeline went out for months because of some life changes that were occurring with them. So I watched the house sit, right? There was a little bit of activity right when we hit the market, and then there was nothing. Dead. And I was getting nervous. I was getting a little concerned, but we were still on their timeline. We didn't need to change the price. They didn't change their timing. We just let it sit. But then an offer came in just under the asking price, which my guy signed 12 seconds flat, right? Once we were in escrow, then we found out from the buyer's agent what was going on with that buyer, their motivations, the things that were going on in their life. And all of these things influenced that buyer. They were things that we on the seller side could have never imagined when we went to the marketplace. But it resulted in us getting right at the number that they wanted that I thought was absolutely insane. The sales price was above what I expected, way above the comps. Neighbors came over and were like, how the hell did that happen? Well, we had the timeline, the right buyer showed up, and the seller benefited. Now, if you went into the MLS and looked at it, you would think, well, as an agent, you'd look at it and go, well, that was kind of a mediocre sale. Incredible pricing results, but the timeline was terrible given the location and the price range. But that's not the real story, right? I didn't send out a sold in 4 days flyer, but my assignment wasn't to sell the house within 4 days. The assignment was to maximize their proceeds within the super expansive time frame that they had sent. In contrast to that, a couple of months ago, I had a client with a place in Costa Mesa, and this focus was time. We went to market with the goal of immediately attracting offers from the current buyer pool, just specifically looking for buyers that could close quickly, right? So we had the house under contract within a couple of days, and we closed very quickly right after that. Now, did Joe leave money on the table with that sale? Maybe, but his goal was timeliness. That required a totally different pricing approach. Now, neither of these sellers was wrong. What would have been wrong is pretending that these two situations were the same. And this is where sellers get trapped. They'll hear a confident agent say, I think we can get this number, without explaining the trade-offs. Or they're going to hear something like, you know what, you're overpriced, without the right context. As a seller, you should expect your agent to explain, hey, what happens if the house doesn't sell within the timeline that we've set up? How does that impact the pricing? What about the flexibility with that? When are we going to adjust? What should that look like and why? Understanding your timing expectations and needs is totally critical. In fact, the timing expectations are so important that I just did a video about this as well. Right here above my shoulder, click on that link and that will take you to a video about timing. Then you can come back and watch this one further. But if these conversations about timing don't happen, then pricing for you just becomes emotional and not strategic. And emotional decisions aren't going to get you what you're looking for, whatever your timing needs. And being pressured or manipulated by a realtor won't do that either. Understanding all of it before you hire an agent protects you from learning expensive lessons in the rear view. So this is what Fix My Realtor exists to do, to help you either fix the realtor that you've got who's not doing things the right way, or to help you pick the right one in the first place. I do a live workshop once a month for home sellers where I talk through a couple of critical topics on how to get the right sort of listing agent. It's live, it's an hour, and then at the end there's a live Q&A where you can ask me questions about what's going on with you specifically. Second thing, watch the next video that's coming up here. That'll be more helpful information for you.